always say, like, hey, next time you call to order a pizza, next time you call to make a dentist appointment, odds are, and they're getting stronger and stronger, you're going to be talking to AI, and half the time you don't even know it.
Sharp strategies, sweet success.
All right. Welcome to Sharp Strategy, Sweet Success. This is your host, Tiffany Swedensky, and today I am here with Erik Ovesny, and we're going to be talking about him and his product, Meet Gabbi. Erik and I first met at the GLM Summit in 2024 out in Phoenix. We connected after the event, actually, because I don't really think we had a chance to talk too much there. And he gave me a tour of Meet Gabbi and showed me like everything it was capable of, and it was really impressive. It's one of the AI tools that's coming out now that's kind of tailored for law firms. And it handles one important part of what it means to run a law firm and market a law firm, which is intakes. And I've been dealing with intake issues myself personally all week, and so I just know how critical these things can be. And Meet Gabbi can certainly help like fill in the gaps of communication and make it easier for law firms to quickly get in contact with people who have filled out contact forms, gone on the website and completed a chat, or anything else in between. And so I'm really excited to talk with Erik today, and I'll turn the introduction over to him and let him take it away.
Yeah, awesome. Well, I appreciate you having me today, and certainly wish I was back in Phoenix with the weather we're dealing with in Cleveland, Ohio today. But yeah, no, it's very similar to what you mentioned. I know I've got a chance to talk to you a bit about your background and just working with law firms. It's a common issue that really hasn't been solved yet. Is two things really: speed to lead and intake. So really going back, my is the quick story is, I've been in the legal industry for well over a decade, but I've worked with numerous firms. I've worked in-house as director of marketing, CMO. And during my tenure there, I noticed consistently that there was issues with intake, speed to lead, and good quality cases were getting lost through the cracks, right? Going to competitors. But it was really when I started and ran off and did my marketing agency that focused on generating leads for law firms where we were going through the reporting, we would consistently see good quality cases going elsewhere. And when we really started to, ask the questions, why, what happened here, it was a common theme, which was, again, the poor to or just no protocols in place for intake and reception. And as an agency owner, I didn't like leaving it up to others, just because we were being tasked with results. That's at the end of the day, that's what we really care about. So it happened to be during a time where this technology started to advance to a point where this was a reality. So we went all in on Meet Gabbi, formerly Gabby AI, and we developed it and we were really focused on the outbound portion. So we were using this as a tool for our lead gen clients. When a lead would come in, Gabby would contact them within, less than 60 seconds. We typically set it to 30 seconds, and we started to see some really positive results. And I'm sure we're going to dive into a number of things about where we're at now, but yeah, that's really what got me to create, and found Meet Gabby. And yeah, just seeing other technologies, similar and just different, but all under the same AI umbrella has been just phenomenal. I mean, it's growing at such a rapid pace, and it's really exciting.
Yeah, and there is a lot of competition out there, a lot of people in the AI space. Like, just as a business owner, can you tell me what that's like for you right now? What are you trying to do to stay ahead, or what do you think of your competitors, that kind of thing?
Yeah, well, honestly, I think in the AI space, competition is fantastic. I think because it's helping, for me, it's helping us push the envelope. On the marketing side, and I'm sure you can maybe attest to this, it's hard to stand out. The marketing space is, in many ways an oversaturated, field. But, I think legal marketing it's a very specific type of marketing. And so it does take a very specific type of person, such as yourself, or a specific type of company and agency to really get it, and perform the way that law firms really need you to. So, competition on the marketing side was much different. I think for me, Gabby, I don't really focus so much on competition. I mean, quite honestly, I just spoke to my team about this the other day. Like I root for it because I think when they advance, it makes us advance. And we're not really for Meet Gabby, we're looking straight ahead. Like we're really not looking at the rearview mirror, looking out, we're always seeing what new technologies are out there and what we can do to advance. But we have a vision and we want to work towards getting there. We know where we're at today. Some of the things that we have, like we've built our own innovation team. So we not only have a team working on the product here today, always making, adjustments as needed, continuing to improve, quality, but we have an innovation team where we're developing products for tomorrow and we're trying to develop based on technology that quite frankly isn't even released or out there yet, but we know it's coming. So Meet Gabby has definitely given me a lot of energy that as entrepreneurs can sometimes go away, but we're really excited about where we're going.
And what are you doing like right now? Like what are you on the conference circuit, like going to all these places and
Yeah.
meetings? Are you mostly in the office developing things? Like what's your day to day look like right now?
Oh boy, it's it is usually I try to spend most of my day in the innovation. Um, we have been very fortunate, and thanks to great partners, great legal marketing, and going to those conferences, we've been to another other number of other legal conferences that have been really helpful. But we've been very fortunate to grow word of mouth. Quite honestly, we don't do a lot of advertising. We just started doing some. We run, the typical Meta. We started doing some fun, commercials on, OT through OTT and whatnot. That's a pretty new venture, but right now we're focused on the product. I think, my biggest thing is the Meet Gabby grew quicker than I had anticipated as the owner, which was a great problem to have. So we really focused on building structure, team support, and we're continuing to do that. We're continuing to improve every day. And yeah, I think probably over the next, I'm sure, a few months, we're going to really make the marketing and advertising piece a big focus. But fortunately, organically, we've been able to grow and become a player in the legal space.
So if I'm reading you right, you're really not doing a lot of marketing and advertising right now, but you're for Meet Gabby for your own company, but you're planning to.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. So if there's any marketers, although I try not to mix myself with my own marketing and advertising, even though, that's our space. But yeah, if anyone's listening and they have any interest, let's talk. So
Yeah, and it's I mean every company eventually needs help with marketing, even marketing companies, which is kind of funny. Because you need like I guess outside perspective or just somebody else kind of like taking charge and managing that because it's, unless you build like a team, it's like it's hard to DIY it like as an
yeah.
owner, just as like a small team.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, just having an outside perspective. I mean, it's so close to me. I mean, it's like, a child. It's like having it's like your baby, these companies that you've went from concept to becoming an actual thing. So again, we do a lot of things internally right now that produce great results, but again, it's always something where I like to get that outside perspective.
So, and maybe I just want you to talk about it because I thought it was so interesting. But when we met sometime after, like in the last few months, you and I talked about how when you launched Meet Gabby, you primarily worked in like the healthcare, space. And but you moved out of that. I don't know if you changed courses since then.
Sure.
Because you said like doctors were basically trying to replace their whole teams. And I just thought that was so interesting. If you want to talk about that for a second.
Yeah, I mean, well, we've always been involved in the legal industry. That's been our steady and our constant. But we did, in the marketing agency, we started to get a lot of requests working with healthcare, and their intake systems and processes and the way they're generating leads very similar, many differences. But when we initially, when I first launched Gabby, I mean, in its concept, I mean, it was basically an AI infused web chatbot. And, again, those are a dime a dozen. So it didn't really excite me when I woke up, but we really developed a really neat product. And at that time, we really focused on healthcare. But it wasn't until, the voice AI and kind of more of this agentic AI, which is what we're seeing now, became a thing. And we went all in there that I quickly realized okay, I don't think we want to continue down the road with healthcare. We always knew it was going to be legal, but at one point it was going to be legal in healthcare. The issues there, some of the projects, I mean, the compliance is always extremely important with any industry you're working in, but there's a few extra hoops that you have to jump through with when it comes to healthcare. There's a lot of wait times. I could give you one example. We were working on a project where we had the opportunity and privilege working with the Cleveland Clinic on going through a number of things with their EMR, and it was a very time consuming project. And I realized, what I guess at one point I just had the thought it's a good thing to stay down the road, which has always been legal. I know that this is an issue in many law firms, and I mean, I've seen it more and more as time has gone on. So at one point, we just decided we're going legal. We're not gonna, go outside of any other industry, and we have no plans to right now. So yeah, Meet Gabby is really poised to be, again, we're trying to make this a partner for many of these law firms in need of a service like ours.
And just in case the audience is a little bit unfamiliar with Meet Gabby and they're just a little bit clueless so far in the conversation, why don't you tell everyone a little bit about like the product and kind of the main features?
Yeah, so and I'm glad you asked that because I think a lot of times, especially when I hop on sales calls or do demos and join my team, people think that we're just voice AI, which in itself, I mean, that's really what we're known for. Since we first spoke, obviously there's a variety of different voice AI companies, some, that aren't great, some that are very good. But what we're trying to do is essentially our whole new branding and everything is we want law firms to be able to build and bring their own custom AI employee or intake specialist. And we're trying to do everything and be a complete omni-channel automation system and really replicate everything that an actual, intake or receptionist employee could do. I will say we built this system in mind that we don't want to necessarily disrupt existing, protocols or we're not trying to necessarily replace human employees. That wasn't our goal. We do have firms that are certain sizes that maybe don't want to have, multiple part-time people or have one person on staff. They maybe want to move to a different position. That's great. But our system plays very well with existing intake and receptionists. And again, it's the future. I mean, I always say, like, hey, next time you call to order a pizza, next time you call to make a dentist appointment, odds are, and they're getting stronger and stronger, you're going to be talking to AI, and half the time you don't even know it. So, yeah, Meet Gabby really is voice AI, AI infused texting, AI automation, and a whole omni-channel of components that basically duplicate everything an actual receptionist could do.
Well, and I know a lot of receptionists and intake people would be really happy for the help because, particularly if you're like a small team, like if you're a one person, two-person intake team, and you're managing like a ton of inbound calls, like it just becomes like a super big challenge after a time. And, yeah, frankly, I think a lot of people doing intakes, some of them probably love answering the phones. Maybe a few people doing law firm intakes, that's their absolute passion. But like, I think most of them, they like what they do, but any tool that's going to help keep them off the phone a little bit, or yeah, keep them off the phone a little bit and
Yeah.
allow them to kind of automate systems and processes and message. That's just a huge win in my view.
Yeah, yeah. One of our most popular features is we have a rejection protocol because I always say like half the time, when you have to turn down a case, I mean, some just send an email, some just send SMS. Some firms like, hey, we want to give customer service. We want to call them and give them that because you never know they might need us. But what we can do is we have they also don't want to avoid a browbeating on the phone with the client that gets upset that, hey, you're not taking my case. But we have one where you can just drag it in that pipeline and it just starts either triggers a phone call from Gabby and lets them know with empathy, we're really sorry we couldn't take because of this, but here's the next steps we would take. Do it the same thing through SMS and or email. So that's been really popular. And another thing that we found, since, just doing this for as long as we have now, is that a lot of firms say, listen, I end up attorneys that are even like smaller firms that are still taking the intakes. They're like, I end up spending an hour on the phone with someone when in reality, in the first 3 minutes, I know I can't take this case. but this is the business. Like, what are you going to do? Just say, sorry, nope, hang up. Customer service is crucial for this industry. And you don't know. I mean, you don't know if that person's ever going to need you again, or want to send you business. So that's another gap we're starting to fill. And the whole name of the game, we want to save attorneys and their team time while continuing to make them more money, right? And AI in general has just been such a great tool to help that happen.
Yeah. Back in the day when I was not only doing the marketing stuff, but I was also kind of managing the law firm intake team. I listened to calls a lot, and this is back before you could have like AI summarize calls for you. You actually had to listen and hear the words to hear what happened. And I don't think the attorneys or maybe the staff who don't answer the phones realize how much of a problem storytelling is. Because you'll pick
Yeah.
up the phone and some people, they just, I want to talk to an attorney. They don't want to tell the intake person nothing. And then some people, like, I mean, you ask them their name and they'll tell you, where they went and got groceries last week or something. And so,
Yeah.
like, you know, I Meet Gabby can definitely help with that, and I like the idea of like sending an outbound text, and it's like, well, tell me in your words what happened, or having an agent call and get that information from them, because like the attorney you mentioned, like they might spend an hour on the phone and realize they knew from the beginning it wasn't a case. But if you read like a quick summary, you can be like, okay, like I don't need to call this person back, but we can give them a good experience. And
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's exactly right. And where we really started, I mean, we probably did this backwards, but this is just, me. I'm like a kid in a candy store when it comes to this type of technology. I just there's certain aspects of it that I just become, obsessed with. And the voice technology was the most important thing. Like, how can we make this sound as human-like as possible? Even if they know it's AI, it's still the conversation. We want it to be fluid. We're continuing to develop new technology around that, and we're trying to push the envelope. But it's exactly right. I think by giving that type of technology and that type of realism to the voice technology, that people don't seem to be as upset of versus calling and being they'll put you on hold with a robotic voice, or like try to ask you questions. It just there's a disconnect there. So I think this is really helping to bridge that gap, and it's just continuing to get stronger and stronger. And so we're just excited to be a part of this era where this is actually a real thing. I mean, I always laugh. I tell my team I talk to robots 12 hours a day. Fortunately, so often that we're actually bringing people on to do that with me. But I mean, it's still crazy to think that this is an actual thing. If you would have told me this 10 years ago, that I'd be talking to you about, building AI employees and that can replicate everything, humans can do, I'd have told you you're crazy. So it really is wild that we're really in this time where it's not only here, but it's not going anywhere, and it's just going to get stronger.
I definitely am really happy to be a marketer in today's age of marketing because so much of what we used to do took so much time. And, I could see like 2016 Tiffany having somewhat of an existential crisis, realizing that no, my copywriting skills could indeed be replicated. At least, I don't feel like ChatGPT is that great of a copywriter. But, it's certainly better than, nothing. We had nothing before. And now you can get almost an entire draft of a sales letter or an email campaign with just a simple prompt. At the end of it, sometimes it becomes like what is that, the Theseus ship, where it's like you replace one part at a time until at the end you have like, is it the new ship or is it the same ship? That's what like
Yeah.
AI writing is sometimes. You rewrite it to the point where it's like, did AI write this or, did it make
Yeah.
the first draft, But
It's
I still
it's
love
really,
it.
yeah.
It's great.
Yeah. Yeah. You mentioned earlier storytelling, and I know like that's something I always talk about, especially on the marketing side. I always say, like, with law firms, that's how you stand out. You got to tell your story. I've always been a fan of the cinematic approach. I'm a big movie buff. I actually, when I started my career, and I know I talked about this at our conference and in other conferences. I thought I was going to be the next Steven Spielberg at college. I'm like, I love films. I started making documentaries, and the amount of time that I would put into doing like a shoot, like going out on a weekend and doing like a 2-minute film. Me and my son just for the heck of it started putting together AI trailers. next thing I know, we've got like a cult following on there. I mean, nothing crazy, but like our one video, we got like, over 35,000 views. And he tells me that's good on YouTube. So, and multiple subscribers. And it was something we did in a couple hours, like an entire 3 to 4 minute long trailer. And I think that's a really cool thing too, to see how cinema and just storytelling through AI and what they're doing with the visual component of it, how you can actually make movies. I know when I even first started doing this, maybe 9, 10 months ago, and playing around with it, and where it's at now. I mean, the realism behind the footage and what you're able to produce from it is it's just beyond the beyonds at this point. And it's scary, but it's also very exciting. It just all depends on how you use the technology.
Well, and it's interesting how you can incorporate AI into maybe what you're doing already. My husband's getting really into, he has like a drawing machine where it like holds the pen and like draws things like a plotting, I forget what it's called. But he'll use AI to generate an image and then modify the image. And I think he even like he created some Python code where it'll look like he creates like a line effect basically. You use ChatGPT to help him with the Python code. At the end of it, he makes some art, sends it to the drawing table, the machine draws it, and then draws it with like erasable ink. He fills in the rest with ink. He inks it in and then takes a blow dryer to it, and the invisible ink goes away. And I think like AI was involved and machines are involved in like 3 steps of that process, and it ends up with what is pretty unique and original and nice looking art. And it's just kind of interesting the conversation of like creativity and art and like how AI is being incorporated with it. It's it's not directly AI doing it, but it's a lot of like give and take between humans and using the tool.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, one thing that I see happening is, a lot of people talk about how this is going to affect jobs, how this is going to affect, the future, what types of positions should, the younger generation be focused on. I mean, me personally, from my experience in working in this space, like prompt engineering is going to be huge because right now, I mean, things are changing rapidly, but it's the people behind the AI. And you really, and I learned this too. Fortunately, we've got great developers, but even when I was playing around with our technology early in the early days, I realized how easy you can mess up like a system or like a prompt, or just by not having it structured in a certain way. So prompt engineering, I think, is going to be something that's going to be a big time career opportunity for those that are interested in the field. But certainly, it's those that are going to be behind and the AI, and being able to and know how to use it in the right ways, are gonna do some great things.
I mean, this is entirely theoretical, but I think eventually there's going to evolve like a syntax of prompts, like how to structure your language to get the most effective result, because that is a huge part of it. And I've even noticed like I've started to change the way I write because it would yield like a better result in the prompt.
Mhm.
And you also have to get really good at describing what you want. You have to be the one, describing the scene, the art, the copy, whatever the heck you're trying to make. And if you don't know how to describe it, then I guess the results you're going to get are kind of unpredictable.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, that's exactly right. Because I know even on, just a plug up a software. So Runway is a great software to generate video content. I think, and there's a couple, or that's one of the top three players in the space. And I learned, doing that, like if you actually can put like what type of shot it is. And, as someone again that was in film and was doing, directing and just short films and whatnot out of college, I realized, okay, like I could literally say, let's do a medium close up, or let's do a tracking shot. And okay, that's how I'm getting what I want out of this. And so it's exactly what you said. You have to know how to communicate and use the technology in order to get what you want. Otherwise, it's and that's something too. I always tell clients that sign up with us. It is very similar to training an employee. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, yes, this technology, it's advancing, but it still makes mistakes. And although you feed it, you have a knowledge base and these things that you can give it, you still have to tell it, how to do it. And you got to do it in a very specific way. But again, the great things is once you kind of hit that nail on the head and get it working, that this is a system that stays consistent and doesn't make many mistakes.
And I'm sorry if I asked you this when we met the first time and I forgot, but you mentioned you were into film. So like what as a film buff or somebody who's into film, like what's your favorite film? Or actually, what's your favorite film maybe that's come out recently?
Ooh, that's a good question. What would be a good one? I mean, it's hard. People when I ask me like, "Hey, what's your favorite movie of all time?" It's always a really tough one. I mean, Godfather's up there for sure, and I
Oh,
just
really?
watched a great show, The Offer. I will say it's hard. I watch a lot more, like series and whatnot. The movies. I know Nosferatu was a great film. I thought it was really cool how they brought that to like the modern screen. But The Offer I watched, which is about the making of The Godfather, was fantastic. And that's a series. It's a short-lived. I don't know if they're going to do another season, but if anyone's looking for a good show, that was one of the best series I've seen in a very long time. So yeah, it's the film. I'm always going to be a film buff, but I actually have not been to the movies actually that you said. Maybe that'll be something I do here in the near future. Maybe you gave me some fuel to get that done.
I So I know somebody who has like one of those movie passes and they just like take their kids to the movies. If it's a good
Yeah.
movie, bad movie, whatever, they go to a movie every weekend. And I'm like, that's such a good idea. Are you familiar with Red Letter Media? You should check those guys out if you're not familiar.
No,
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 like
I'll check them out.
I mean they do great film reviews and I think you'll like them. They're our age basically, probably maybe a little older. And but they're big Trekkies, so a lot of their stuff is going to be about Star Trek. But I think you'd like them. Yeah.
Yeah, hey, I'm a bit of a Star Wars nerd, so I'll definitely check them out. So, but yeah, no, I think it's funny because speaking of just movies and whatnot, we're talking about AI and all these things. I mean, people always say like, are we heading towards like a Terminator type ending here, or like what's going to happen? And it is. It's. I'm always keeping up on what the latest is going on. I've always said that, everything going on between the major AI companies is actually helping companies like mine out because I think they're trying to be first to the race, and it's advancing, it's helping this industry advance. But again, it is scary because when I look at it, I'm like, okay, we're moving pretty fast along like this timeline here of where maybe things should be going. But yeah, it's a new ball game out here anymore, but it's a fun space to be in. And I know right here and right now that I think AI is a great industry to be a part of, and certainly even if you're not working and doing something like I'm doing, you definitely need to be using AI to some degree. It's just there's no denying it anymore.
What was that Chinese large language model that came out like a few months ago called Blue something? I
Or is
have
it DeepSeek?
DeepSeek. Okay,
Yeah,
I was gonna say
DeepSeek.
Blue Seek, but I okay. Um, so that was it popped in the news cycle for a while, and I haven't heard anything about it. But that was kind of a big like turning point into like creating AI that demanded less on like CPUs and processing units, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's different LLMs and different pieces of technology that are better. Like I use certain ones, like just in my personal, if I need help, like looking at some code. Hey, does this make sense? There's others that you like don't even allow you to upload files or images, and others will. So yeah, I mean, it's really interesting to see, what they're coming out with and who's doing what the best. It's really interesting to see Grok, Elon Musk's, now in the
Um,
party. And then there's actually a new one. Sesame is actually a very, very interesting tool. We actually have part of that as one of our LLM options that we're building out right now, and it sounds incredibly. I mean, probably I mean, next level. What the voice technology is behind that. So, yeah, I think with these other LLMs and just the I call them the AI wars, it's really helping to develop, I think, better products for everyone. And again, that's why, rather than always looking at different companies, competitors, I mean, I just know what we do and what we're great at. And we just want to continue to be innovative and stay in that lane. And we've got some, I won't announce it or make a thing, but we've got some really cool things coming out that are going to add to our offering that I don't think anyone in the industry has seen yet. So we're very excited about that. We're hoping to have some of that wrapped up, and hopefully we'll make an announcement in the next month or two.
And I guess bringing it back to law firm intakes, marketing. Oh, you mentioned you guys were doing some OTC stuff. Is that right?
Yeah, some OTT. Yeah.
Oh,
So yeah, we just started doing just for Meet Gabby, we I've got some great partners in the space, and so we just started doing some targeted commercials. And yeah, we're just again, it's interesting because working with firms, I'm sure on the marketing side, law firms, this I'm sure could be a whole nother podcast where we dive into this, but it is an industry. It's been really interesting to see because they're not usually pioneers to any degree. They're usually, this is an industry full of laggards. They're kind of slow adopters to new technology. Really cool to see how they're adopting to AI. And I think they've come to the realization like this is how we can outperform. But when it comes to the marketing side, you still see a lot of the traditional mediums, and obviously they are doing moving the needle to some degree. But it's interesting to see how OTT is becoming a player in the space and how that compares to traditional or broadcast television. So I know it's different for a company like mine that's like, hey, we're trying to target lawyers and tell our story and see if this could provide a solution. But ultimately, I know a lot of law firms, some have had success, others haven't. I don't know if you've worked in that, but it's an interesting space.
yeah. I mean, OTT broadcast. I mean, honestly, the space is so fragmented. There's so many
Yeah.
places to be, and you really when you're thinking about building a brand, like if you're going to build a big brand and you're not just after lead generation, you're not just trying to convert somebody. If you're just trying to get leads, like OTT is probably not for you. But if you're trying to build a brand, you're trying to get more referrals, you're trying to beat, a major competitor in your area, you need like broadcast, OTT, display ads, all of it. Now, I mean,
Yeah.
OTT in effect is like display ads, right?
Yeah.
It's not just video, right?
Yeah. No, OTT is, there's a number of things that you can do with it. Certainly I know like for example, if someone's watching on your mobile device, you can actually click versus TV, usually want to have a QR code or something like that. But I'm interested to see it's part of we just recently started it. Hopefully it'll end up performing, but we're not doing it necessarily to get leads. We're just trying to tell our story because again, I got to practice what I preach. I'm always talking about the story and building that brand, as you mentioned, so important. So we're everything that we've done and tried to apply to firms that we worked with, we're trying to do for ourselves on the tech side. And we still have the marketing agency, and that's running. We've got some great people behind it. That's something that I've always enjoyed doing, and we've always tended to focus on social as a way to generate leads and build the brand. And the thing I've always enjoyed about social is there's always storytelling with it. Like people always ask me, "Oh, do you like this or Google AdWords?" And I'm like, they're two completely different animals. But the thing I prefer over AdWords when it comes to social is, in the very least, you're getting branding, like you're getting storytelling, you're getting clicks, and it provides that extra value versus Google Pro is, you click on it and you're getting that wham bam, like let's go. And but it's super competitive and can be an ugly game if you're not a lot of variables there that could make your ad spend look pretty hefty. So
I sometimes kind of hate that question. It's like, oh, should we do Google ads or should we do Facebook ads or should we do
yeah,
this or should we do that? And it's like, let's start from the place, like, let's start by assuming that you're going to do all of it one day anyway. And let's like focus on like which one is going to be good for you right now. Because like there's nothing wrong with Google Ads. Like sometimes people use it and it sucks, and sometimes people use it for the wrong reasons. It's not a matter of like are these platforms like good or not. It's like are they good for me and are they good for my marketing goals? And I feel like that's a big misconception from non-marketers to marketers. It's like you can't just go on Facebook and like do any type of ad. You can't go on Google Ads and do
yeah.
any type of ad. There's niches here that we got to work within.
Yeah, and you could. I always say too. I mean, these are areas you could lose money very quickly if you don't. Like you said, I mean, there's different types of ads you can run on both platforms, and you got to know your audience. You got to know what creatives work. How do you test them out? And yeah, it's a tough world, but again, it's even tougher because the legal industry is one of the most competitive advertising, industries there are. So again, I think having someone that focuses on that, especially like in your situation, I know with the marketing side, that was a big niche that we had, definitely helps because you got to really understand how those leads are generated, how the branding works, and how it all ties together. So you're absolutely right.
Yeah. Was there something that we didn't talk about that you wanted to cover?
No, I think again, I mentioned that we'll have some really cool stuff coming out already, so I'm excited about that. Again, it's just we're just always trying to make Meet Gabby stand out, and push the envelope, and we want to continue to do that. So other than that, I think we're good. I'm sure we could do a whole podcast just on the marketing stuff, and I would love to talk to you about that, and certainly offline. But no, I do appreciate you having me on. We're excited, again, what Meet Gabby's doing in the industry. We're excited about the growth, and hopefully we can continue to get word out there that she's ready to get to work. So
All right. Well, thanks so much for coming on. Yeah. Well, I'm to the point now where I've had quite a few guests on. I've thought about bringing back some repeat guests, and so we'll definitely have to come back on and talk a little bit more marketing. If you're ever interested, for sure. If you want people to reach out to you to learn more about you and the program, like where should they go?
yeah, just our website's always the best place. It's just Meet Gabby, MEetGabbi.com. And we're actually going to be pushing some other updates where you can actually demo and do some more testing on the site. And then yeah, and you can find our contact information there and be happy to talk with you.
All right. Well, thanks so much again, Eric, and we'll have you back on sometime here pretty soon, I'm sure. And thanks everyone for listening. Have a great day, everyone. See you next
Awesome.
episode.